All right, everybody. Thank you for joining SDA Seattle for today's presentation on cobbling together beautiful documents from chaos, which I love that title. This is a longer than normal session. This is a 90-minute session that we've blocked out, so hopefully that is on your calendar. And we are recording it so that you can revisit this later. Mute your line if you haven't already, although I have the mute button so I can take care of it if you forget. Everybody's been so good. The link and the handouts will be sent later separately. Melissa's going to be editing some of these on the fly, so excuse me. So that's why you did not get handouts in advance. So you will get them afterwards, and we will send out a link to this so that you can go back and refresh your memory. Please use the Google form for sign-in. We are keeping track of attendance, and certificates of attendance, if you need one, will go out separately too. So if you need that link, it should be in the chat box for you. If not, let me know. All right, here we go. Today, we are thrilled to welcome Melissa Escobel back to SDA Seattle. She's a Microsoft certified trainer, and she's always impressed me with the depth of her knowledge of these programs. It just blows me away. I thought I was a pretty good user until I started attending Melissa's webinars, and I learned I'm just baby steps. You'll come out of this with so many tips and tricks, it will probably make your head spin. This is for Microsoft Word. And then with a heavy emphasis on working with specs, since they always seem to be in Word. This was a nice challenge, I hope, from Melissa to show us how to apply her styles and template protocols that she's trying to hammer into all of us Word users. What happens when we get the pre-done documents? So I can't wait to see what she's done with this. So Melissa, you have the floor. Show us the way.
Thanks so much, Carrie. I am going to close my camera here in a minute, but I did want to kind of preface what we're going to be doing today and why you don't have a handout. The document challenges that you have everything to do with the various ways that you get the documents, and you can't count on getting them all the same way. Trying to do what many of you have been doing, which is to copy and paste everything in and clean it up as best as you can and get headers and footers in there and hope it works and hand do a table of contents because you don't have styles put in there. And we're spending a lot of time. And I mentioned to Carrie, and to Emily both, because Emily also mentioned this to me. It's like, well, we don't have the luxury of starting from scratch and setting up styles. And I said, well, I've got a lot of bad news around that today. Because to be fair, without styles, you will always be working harder than you need to. However, the order in which we do things today is a little bit flipped around. We are going to start out by setting up some structure around styles, for example, but then we're going to be copying and pasting these things into one document and then learning how to get it in line with this thing that you already set up so that the back end work, again, tables of contents, appendices, section breaks, covers, all that stuff isn't as much of a nightmare. All right, I'm going away and you're going to see my screen in a minute. And Carrie, can you verify that you're seeing my first slide?
I definitely do.
Very good. Okay, so our roadmap today, we're going to begin with the end in mind. We have to know what we want to end up with before we start dragging all the content in. I think that the best analogy I can give you, especially since it's been a part of my world so much this past few months, is if you're going to go on a trip in a hurry, you just start cramming things into a suitcase, you find someone to sit on it, to buckle it up, and pray that it's not overweight when you get to the airport. So rather than doing that, if you spend any amount of time thinking through, do I fold or roll? Can I use the sections of the suitcase differently to get more in there? Should I get space bags? Probably best to get a checklist so I don't miss anything. And that process takes time. The setup process takes time. And we believe that if we take that process time out front, we're not packing. And oh my God, we got to pack. So this is kind of very similar to the process we're going to do today. We're going to set up some framework. We're going to get the content in there, tie it up in a bow with certain elements, and think about then, can we reduce some of these steps in the future using a template? So when I say begin with the end in mind here, what I'm talking about is, what is your desired numbering scheme? I've noticed that though it seems to be the norm to do 1.01, 1.02, there's your vendor that's going to say, no, we don't need that O, so it's just 1.1 and 1.2. And if you try to copy multiple things together, you're going to have some that are 1.1 and some that are 1.01, and that's not going to work for you. So to begin with, you decide ultimately what the numbering scheme and then list lettering scheme look like. We're going to set that up and save a template or save the document. Decide in advance how you want pages to break. So if I'm bringing in the ceramic tile stuff, and then I'm bringing in something else on windows or doors or locks or security systems, I want to make sure that if I'm going to bring that into the same document, that I get a break at when the section changes. You might even want to break at when the section in the section within the main section changes, but decide in advance where you want pages to break. One of the cram it in a suitcase and get someone to sit on it maneuvers that I know a lot of people do is get everything in there, cobble it as best you can, and then hammer in hard page breaks where you want them to break. That's a nightmare when there's modifications. And as you know, there are always modifications. And then you're chasing your own page breaks to get it to work. So have in mind where you want your pages to break. Think about your headers and footers. I noticed as I looked at these documents that I was given to kind of sample through, that each of them come in with their own headers and footers. The data is needed, but you're probably going to end up putting your own header and footer in over those. But we might need to capture that information somewhere, and where does it go and how does it get placed? When graphics are a part of the whole for these types of specs, I would, and I'm going back to my tech writer days, most of my graphics would actually be out there in the appendix or the appendices if there was multiples. Where I could put them or where I needed to put them in line in the document, what I've discovered with the way that Microsoft Word is working now and how people are viewing documents, the right thing to do is to get those graphics on their own between paragraphs, not wrapped around in them. You might like the way that it looks wrapped, but the second you either go to PDF, have someone look at this in Word online, have them look at it in an alternate word processing software for edits, you've now thrown away all your graphics placement. So we'll talk about that kind of at the end. And you also want to understand what document elements you're going to need. Do you need a table of contents? Do you need a cover page? Do you need a table of figures? Will you have appendices at all? So this is the thinking that has to go in before you start slinging text. So I'm going to kind of go through, for those of you that were at my recent Word program, you saw a list very similar to this, which is the right approach, to which Emily and Carrie say, I ain't got time for that. I'm not going to be able to start from scratch. I've got to put this together. So I've modified it slightly, but we're really going to be going through these steps here, and these will all be in the handout. Let me roll back a little bit here. On the subject of styles, as I mentioned, you really don't have time to not have time. Every minute you spend hard formatting topics is wasted. You can change a style in one place and have it just simply trickle through the document. And there was a lot of that needed to be done. One of the luxuries you have is you can pull a style reference straight into the header. So if you have used, let's say, heading 1 as your section title, you don't have to worry about making individual section headers. It can just be automatically thrown into the header. So that we're going to cover later on. Got to get through the building blocks first. So again, to go through what the classic approach is, you would create an outline, you would then enter your content or surgically copy and paste it. You can still do that even with what we're doing today. So knowing that you're beginning with content that exists already, then you're going to put your graphics and tables in. Then after all of that, if you need a section break, you can do your sections. You don't want to do that before. Once you have all that in and all the pages are where you think they're going to be, then you can do a table of contents. And don't worry so much. The beauty of using styles and things like tables of figures, tables of content, is even if your document changes, you don't have to go in and fix each individual line. You can just update the table of contents, update the table of figures, and it will put in the right page numbers. Then after all of that is done, should you need footers, page numbering, how you want that top of page, bottom of page to look after everything's in, then you can decide on that. Adjust any paragraph flow for widow and orphan lines, those kinds of things. And then finally, insert your cover page if you're using a cover page. So classically, when we think about documents, the first thing we're going to do is we think of it front to back. We're going to work on this a page at a time. And that's the worst possible approach because you will spend 10 times as much time as you need to. So we're ending with cover page. So that kind of gives you an idea that we're not working in that direction. Now, working with the sample documents I've been given, which thank you very much. That was really exciting. We're actually going to work slightly differently today. We're going to set up our document with the appropriate numbered heading 1, heading 2, whatever heading styles, title styles that we want to work with, fonts, colors, all that jazz. We're going to start with that. We're going to save that as a template. The reason we want to save it as a template is we want to be able to go back and continually, as time goes on, tweak that and always have that at the ready so that we can bring text in and get it in line easily. Then once we have our structure set up, we're going to copy and paste using keep text only. And then in addition to that, control space bar. Keep text only attempts to bring things in only as text. That occasionally works. I still do control space bar because that returns everything to whatever style that it thinks it's using, and that gives you a good starting place. You've peeled out all of the manual formatting at that point. Now we need to peel out page headers and footers, save the data where we might need the data, and maybe make those titles for each section. One thing I noticed that was rampant in all of these documents was all these extra hard returns. So we're going to fall back to a single hard return and use the paragraph styles and insert space above and below to actually change the whole document at once. We can get the spacing that you like without adding those hard returns. Hard returns, hard paragraph markers are one place where you'll notice there can be an inconsistency. No matter how many times you go over that document, oh, we've got to put an extra paragraph, or oh, we have an extra one in here. And it bugs the eye, when you're looking at it. And so we don't want to, we want to eliminate that as a potential trap for formatting. I also noticed in some of these documents, you have soft returns. Clever. This is how you don't use a hard paragraph marker, but still get it to do another space. And it's like, yeah, we're going to mostly eliminate those, although there is a place where you might want to use them, but we want to use these strategically. What we don't want to do is use soft returns and hard returns to take the place of what Microsoft Word already does pretty well, which is spacing paragraphs. Now that we've got that text in there and we've gotten rid of all the extra junk, most of it, we're going to start applying those heading styles we set up that we thought we needed. You might also, even though everything should fall in line, big word should there, 2 shortcuts you'll see me use today are Control-Shift-C and Control-Shift-V, and that copies format. When your documents start to get into that, pardon me, capital letter and then numbered subheadings in there or subtopics in there, that's when I have found that it's best to use Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-V, rather than just resetting the style, because that brings everything back to A, B, C, D, even though it's A, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll see how that works. Now, because of the way this will work, you may find that in each section, you may need to restart numbering. So where you're going to go in your first section and see A, B, C, D, in the next section, you don't want it to start with E, you want it to start with A. So we may need to do some restart numbering. So these steps, after heading styles, these steps are the only tweaks you should need to do to bring things in and get them to look the way you want them to look. Bring in one document at a time. So if you're talking about multiple vendors' documents in a single document, we're going to try to do 2 today. When you talk about bringing them in, bring in one document at a time, fix that document with all these little tweaks, then bring in the next one. Because in order to do these shortcuts, you'll need to have it right close by. So you only want to have to go up a page to select a numbered list and then paste that formatting on your new numbered list. So these are the steps that I believe today might get a little modified, which is why I hesitated to give you the handout until we see how this all shakes out. And again, I've been through it. One of the most important things to do when you're looking at numbered headings is to begin with this multi-level list button in Word to set it up. You can choose something close to what you want to do here. You can use chapter or you can use heading 1. I notice you guys have a mix of, I would say this kind of thing and this kind of thing. That's fine. You can define a new multi-level list and get your fonts and numbering all set up to start with. So let me go over to Word at this point. Start with a blank document, and I'm going to approximate what I think you guys are doing. So I'm going to have the main section title, which will be, I don't know, vendor title, vendor doc title. So ceramic tile for whatever the project is. Then I'm going to have a section, and then I'm going to have my numbered list. The only thing I really need to have as heading styles are these 2. You'll notice I have my navigation pane showing here, and that's on the View tab in the Show group and Navigation Pane. Keep your ruler on, because I noticed that when we use the multi-level list, it inserts some pretty deep indents, which I don't think are necessary, and I don't think you're going to need those deep indents. So let's just take this. We have a numbered list, A, and a numbered list 1. All right, so let's begin by going to the Home tab, going to our, let me get a blank line up here, going to our multi-level list button. It's very similar to the numbered list, but that's not what we want. We want to be over here in multi-level list. We can choose something close. Maybe that works for us. Maybe that's really close. And then we can go to maybe change list level or define new multi-level list. Okay, when we go to define new multi-level list, now we have this. So if this is our heading 1 and we really want it to be vendor doc level, and it's not going to be numbered, that would be fine. Numbering style, none. And we can leave this alone for right now. Okay. Let me go down to more here. Applies changes to whole list, heading style level 1, follow number with tab character. We can do that. We can do a space. Most of yours are coming in with a tab, and they're coming in at 5. I'm going to say 0.25. We'll see what that does for us. Okay, so now we have this. We didn't need the tab stop on this one, so I'm discovering. So let's go back into our modification here. Define new multi-level list. We're going to take this completely out and leave it alone. All right, so we can get rid of our tab. Now that we have this as heading 1, I can come here and make that heading 1. It's given it vendor doc level as a prefix. We might not need to do that. So again, we can go back in and define new multi-level list, get rid of that. Do okay, and then that becomes our level 1. Now let's do our level 2. Home, multi-level list, define new multi-level list. We want this to be our heading 2. Heading 2, we want it to be section, space. The numbering is going to be 1. .01. I want to start this at 1. So section 1, heading 2, have level 2, level to showing gallery. We'll make that a level 2, make life easier for us. And now we have, I really want this to be in here. Bear with me, guys. So section, I want to have that 1.01 thing, and I'm not seeing it here. So we may need to get creative. I'm going to do 0.01 and just put it in here and see what we got. Okay, so now that's my heading 2. Section 1 section. So this will be whatever is typed in there. It really needs to be 1.01. So let's do a right click, numbering. Let's do that.
I'm glad you're doing this right off the top, because this is one of the challenges I have, is getting the section numbering to start correctly.
Yeah, I mean, no kidding. And this is part of the thing that I think for a lot of us, that, let me clear this. Let me do a heading 2 and define new one. We're going to go at this another way. So we're going to modify this. We're going to come down to format. We're going to come down to numbering, and we want to make this as define new number format 01. There we go. And we want it to, that's fine if that's the way it should work. Let's see. I really wanted to do that 1.01 or 1.01. Let's see what we can get done here. All right. All right, so there's our 1.01. If I were to do another one, let's see what that would be. We'll just call it section and make that a heading 2. Gives us a 2.01. What we're missing is the 1.02, 1.03. I'm going to come back to that. Then we don't have headings here. We have a numbered list here. And so here we may want to say again, define new multi-level list. At this level, we don't want to link it to a style or a heading. We just want it to be a list. Let's call it list cap. And it is A. And then we want to go ahead and move this over. Now, here's where I want to share with you what you can do once you have something on a style. I'm going to move this over a bit to see if I can get it right under there. So if I'm happy with that, I can then do right click, update list paragraph to match selections. So now I should be able to go B and C and etc. That one works fine. And then numbered list 2, multi-level list. Let's go to level 2, and this is going to be called list num. I'm just going to make it list num 1 because something's bothering me about that. And the number. Okay. And so if we make this then our list paragraph. All right, and if I make that a tab, interesting. Okay. I may go back to what I'd set up in the first place. So let me go forward with another document that I created earlier. I'm going to go back to this. Again, this is why the handout is not there. I'm going to go back to my 4-level template here, which is something I set up earlier, Roman numeral, level A, level 3, level 4. And I'm going to, we just used as a template. So we saved it before, file, new, opened up our 4-level template. The way I created it was file, save as, browse, and then here, changing that to Word template and leaving it wherever it wants to save it up here. That's why it was available to me. So we're already in it. And I'm going to go to that. I'm going to delete everything in here. I'm going to go to my first document, which is this one. And I'm going to do a Control A, Control C, and I'm going to come back here to my empty but in the background formatted document and do a paste, keep text only. Now, let me go back home here. Going to get rid of all these extras at the top. I'm going to get rid of, this one doesn't seem to have as many blank lines, which is good. We've got a few here where people have hammered in extra blank lines. So let me do that. This is find replace. And here's how you get rid of double paragraph numbers. It's *P. If you look at your keyboard, that's a shifted 6. This says find all double paragraph markers and replace them with a single one. I'm going to do replace all. Interesting. It only found one. Okay. So we got rid of the one double that we had. The next thing we're going to do is make this a heading 1. Now that was the original way we had seen our format. This is going to be all part of heading 1. For right now, I'm putting it on the same line, letting it break where it wants to. We'll do some soft returns coming back the other way. This then would be a heading 2. Let me backtrack. This is actually a heading 1, and this is a title. Okay, so each section was going to begin with a title. This is a heading 2. And this looks like the text for, okay, we got an A in there and we don't need it. Let's redefine that multi-level list. So we don't want it to be an A. Let's leave it the original 1.01. This is going to be a list level. So we're going to come over here and list paragraph. Now that puts it over quite a bit. So I'm looking at this one, I'm going, you know, really this one should be a little further over. It takes everything back. This one should be a little farther over. Maybe we want it here. These are supposed to also be list level. Now this is where the Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-V comes in. Get that right. Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-V, tab.
And Melissa, real quick, is that Control-Shift, that's copying the format?
That is correct. And what it will do, so now that I have these here, I can do Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-V. And now those are moved over. So this, let's say, for example, and again, we're going to go back to the section heading. I notice I have a really interesting spacing here, which I'm not sure why that is the case. So I'm going to do that. I just deleted the hard page break, re-hit it, and it straightened it out. So now I have that one. This is a heading. This is a list paragraph. So I'm going to do this. Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-V. Okay, so now we have that, and so on. I'm going to take this, Control-Shift-C, highlight all of these numbered items, Control-Shift-V. So these are coming into line. Also notice that we're starting to get this over here on the side. Let me take this a little bit further. This is a heading 1. Now I'm going to do heading 1 with Control-Alt-1. Excuse me, that's a heading 2. Control-Alt-2, so I'm making that a heading 2 with Control-Alt-2. This is a list, Control-Shift-C, I don't know why that's there, Control-Shift-V. I love it when a plan comes together. Control-Shift-C, Control-Shift-V. Let's make this a list paragraph. There we go. Just needed to make it a list paragraph. And then Control-Shift-C, and then all these numbered items, Control-Shift-V. I do have a double. I see why the double didn't catch it, because there's also a tab in the middle there. We can get rid of that. So what you end up doing is bringing this into the format you created. And again, going to go back up here with all that stuff. So gotcha. I saw that comment in there. I'll talk about how to do that here in a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and delete whatever is here. I want to go to another section though. Well, let me finish this up. Control-Shift-V. This is list paragraph. And this is Control-Shift-V. Control-Shift-C. Control-Shift-V. Not cooperating. Control Shift C, Control Shift V. No idea why it's not cooperating, but it just did that. All right, I get the inconsistencies, guys. I hear you, and we're going to come back to them. So this looks like, if I go back to the original document, I've got a summary, references, I have summary, I have references. After that is more of that, more of that, more of that. These are numbered, numbered, numbered. I hear you. Administrative requirements. Yeah, it'll kill you. Here it is. Here's another one. Control Alt 1. Control Alt 2. Control Alt 2 was the numbered one. And then list paragraph. List paragraph. Control Alt 2. Again, these are all list paragraphs, so I can select them all. And this there is the, and let's go ahead and give that a return under there. This is where you are with styles once you have them set up. I want to run through a few more things, and we're going to go back and see if we can figure out the numbering thing before we leave today. So one of the things I noticed is you don't have any blue. Everything is Times New Roman. So we can then do this. We can just take one word, make it Times New Roman, go to our title, right click, update title to match selection. We can go here, just take the word general, make it Times New Roman, get rid of the color, make that just black, and right click on heading 1, update heading 1 to match selection. Once you've done this, here again, we're going to do Times New Roman. It's already black. Right click, update heading 1 to match selection. And then finally this stuff, modify. You can also go at it this way. You can change your text in here. And then you're only changing it in one place, and it is changing it throughout the entire document. So this is what we mean by front loading all that formatting. So if you were to go grab another document, and I'm going to do something I normally wouldn't do at this stage, but that is to do, let's get rid of all this bottom. I would do an insert or a layout break, section break, next page, because now I'm going to bring in another document. So let me go out and grab this one. No, not that one. That one hurt my head. This one. Whoops. Come out here, again, paste, keep text only. Now that I've worked through the first part to a degree, let me go back up to where summary ends, which is here. That's the one we forgot. Let me change that guy. There we go. All right, so let's go back to references, and wherever I deleted stuff, there's all that. Aluminum framed entrance. Okay, so we've got a different numbering scheme here. We said this is going to be our title. This is just going to be plain old body text, because that looks like that's what they've done. Oops, that needs to be Times New Roman, no problem. Times New Roman, right click, update normal to match selection. And you notice by default, everything changed. So then we're going to go through. This one says part 1 general. This is Control Alt 1, Control Alt 2, Control Alt 2. This is list numbering. Get to the bottom of it here, list paragraph. This is list paragraph. These are our numbers. I'm going to do a hard entry and that. Now we have a third level here, and so we might need to go back into our multi-level list and get this third level in. However, when it comes to list paragraphs, they're pretty good at being automatic. So we can do things like backspace enter and get that to work. not quite sure where that is. So this is B, that's a Control-Alt-2. This is now that we have them. Now this is interesting to me. So we have A1. Copy this one. I've got a lot of background noise there, so I'm not really sure where that's coming from, but I will mention it. Okay, so this is now list paragraph, and now it comes over. So this is not heading 2, but this is heading 3. Nope, bear with me. That is simply a list level, not a heading at all. There we go. And then that lines up with that, and we want this to be underneath that tab. And that should get it automatic, and it's not doing it. Interesting. Let me clear all the formats on this, knowing that related sections, I'm going to go up here to home. Find that little eraser that cleared everything. If this becomes a list paragraph, that brings that over. That's in line. If I do a backspace, 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 bring it up here, enter tab, it should give me a 1. There we go. So I had to correct the first one in order for it to give me that. Now let's see if it will do that. Control-Shift-C. These are all numbered. Control-Shift-V, and then that comes in line. Now, I realize that until we can solve that fancy section numbering, which I'm confident we can, I'm pretty sure at this point there may be some questions, some comments. I saw some fly through. I want to take a break here and come into the chat. So let's see, coming all the way down. It would be cool to get rid of all the unused styles and lock what is used so that those not so tuned up in Microsoft Word can edit parts without screwing formatting so badly. Love the phraseology of the question. Let me do a save here and address that one. File, save. And then I want to do a save as. I want to park this somewhere where I know I'm going to get it. And we'll make this practice SDA SEA 1. So let me open up that last one. And let me save this as a 2 so we can get back to this one. So if I come here to styles, and that is the little dialog box launcher, and I use this check box here, which is manage styles, I can do a restrict styles and only choose the one. So we can do select visible. That gives us normal, no spacing, heading 1. That gives us title, subtitle. We can do select visible, select all. We can select the few that we want. So heading 2, 3, 4, normal. We had body text in there, list paragraph. Let me do this one. Nope. So what do we get so far? Normal, heading 1, heading 2. Maybe we want to put in heading 5 as well. And that's only when the document is present for editing, for protected editing. So show recommended styles only. That will certainly whittle down the list. and then we can go through, let's say we're never going to use subtitle, strong. It's not letting us delete them here. Set defaults body. Okay, that's just that one. Can I go through?
So I have a quick question on this. When you're paring down that styles list, that's going to just stay with the user, or is that going to go with the document? If somebody else opens this document.
That will absolutely go with the document.
Okay.
So if I'm as recommended, alphabetical, based on default paragraph, book title, none of that is what I want. By type, it's letting me delete title style, but it won't let me delete this because it's based on body. I see. Let me get that one in the notepad, my notepad here. Remove unused styles from gallery. I don't know that we're going to be able to do it completely, but we might be able to change what appears here. So basically what it should be is anything you're using, as we're seeing here, anything we're using is now appearing at the top. I would say that you should only be using, let me come back to where I was. You should only be using title, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4, if you need heading 4, heading 5. That's all you should be using. That's it. And if those are consistent, then I will share with you that Control-Alt-1, Control-Alt-2, Control-Alt-3 is heading 1, 2, and 3. So if you're not having to click up in the gallery and you're just using a shortcut to format your heading style, the chances that you're going to make a mistake or screw it up. If I do an accidentally Control-Alt-3 here, it's like, oh no, wait, that's a Control-Alt-1 or that's a Control-Alt-2. I'm not clicking in that gallery. I am just using the shortcuts. The styles you should be using, limit yourself to heading styles and that list numbering. Now, me, I actually make my list numbers into heading styles, like heading 4 and 5, but I don't go that deep hierarchically in my documents because I can control what shows up in the table of contents. Just because it's a heading style doesn't mean I have to include it. All right. So I want to revisit this to get exactly what we want. The navigation pane you're seeing, and one of the nice things about this is if we decide to include summary next, once we get the page numbering, or we decide to put this up top, we can actually move things and it will take all of the text with it. Not that, then you are selecting text, you're going to miss a line, you're going to miss a paragraph marker, and you're not going to be able to fix it. So that is a problem. Can you rename those style headings to be more intuitive? Other than heading 1, heading 2, if we do a modify, you could call this, and I'm just going to make it real simple, just heading 1. And so now when I go out here, my heading 1, where did it go down to? This is it. It's now called heading 1, but it still says heading 1 because that's what it's based on. Well, that's not on. Let me try this. Let me do something even more different than that. Oh, it put it in there because I put it in there. That should be pretty obvious. And so there is your 1 heading. So yes, you can go ahead and change those. Now, when you do that, you're either going to save this as a template, or you're going to go to design and themes and save current theme. Okay, so that I need to make sure I get you in the handout. Save current theme, because save current theme will take all of your styles and style names with you. Save current theme. So I'll call this SDA SEA practice. So now if I've done that, let me open up a brand new document here. Sure. If I open up a brand new document and go to design theme, and this was a custom theme, SDA, SEA practice, and now I go home and I go and look in my heading styles, it didn't take any of them with it. Still comes out as heading 1. Don't go anywhere, guys. Styles, options, manage. New documents based on this template. All right, let me go back and get that one, because the answer should be that those should come with you. Styles should come with you. Okay. Let me go back into chat. So I am not ready to move past this one. It would be cool if we could get rid of all the unused styles and lock what is used. There is a way for you to work in a restricted manner, and that would be to go to the Review tab, Protect, Restrict Editing, Limit Formatting to a selection of styles, Settings, and just choose the styles that you want to use. So you can uncheck everything that you're not using. And then when you say, okay, we'll just do a few of these just so we can illustrate what happens next. Document may contain, remove them, sure. And then you're going to say, start enforcing protection, make the easiest password you can think of, or don't put one in. But now protection is enforced, and you will only see those styles available to you up here. You will not be able to go outside that style set. So what I owe you are the steps to restrict editing to a certain collection of styles. I was trying to see if there was a way we could do it without restricting editing, because that comes with a little bit of pain. But let's bookmark that one as well. All right, so we've seen, you make a change, Times New Roman changes everything through. You change the numbering and it changes everything through. I don't want to go on to graphics yet. I want to take one more stroll around a multi-level list that is, if I'm not mistaken, we have a title, we've got a section 1.01, we have a list level A and a list level 1. Am I missing anything? Y'all come over chat and let me know if I've missed it. Yeah, we have another list level. Lower level.
Yeah, sometimes there's A and double I, and sometimes it gets pretty deep.
Okay. All right. Let me come back over here before I just jet forward here, guys. Yeah, thank you, Lois. I mean, I get this, guys. I used to be a tech writer, and when we were responding to RFPs, we had to, that's why I was asking Carrie, can you push out a template to your vendors? And I understand that was a hard no, but we used to get pushed out RFPs and specs about how they needed the document back. And if we didn't turn it in that format, it simply did not get used. But that was a luxury in my IT world, not in yours. Thank you. Yeah, learning to use styles is the thing. A cheat sheet of keyboard shortcuts. Most of those, and let me double check something here because it is possible. Well, I'll make sure they're in the handout because I know when I say it's possible, I've already done it. I've already put them in there, Kurt. Shortcut list. If you were in my Word session that I did recently, those are in there. So yes, you can rename the styles. Rarely have to deal with graphics. Good news. Won't spend any time there. All right, moving on. So let me come back then to a blank document. Let me close some things here. I want to leave one of these open. And then what have I got here? Let me close it and start from scratch. Easier than trying to close everything. So let's just do that. Okay. Let me fire up Word, close all windows. Just want to fire up a blank Word. Now, what I will promise you guys is that whatever we don't get resolved here, the chances are if I find the answers, I'm going to want to do a rewind to this day and do this all over again. What will happen is I will do it all over again. I will record it. I will send it to Carrie, and you guys will have the updated one that will be so much clearer. I have been working with the assumption that that 1.01 was going to be really easy, and that is not what happened. Okay, well, let's do a don't save and a don't save. So let me come back to Word. It is now empty. And let's do that again. We have a section 1.01. We have a title above that, which I haven't yet made up my mind, might not be heading 1 and this be heading 2. Then below that, we have our, let's open up a real one here. A and 1, so list, level, A, list. Styles are headers. So yes, and I apologize because I was pretty sure that I was showing that if you change it one place and apply that heading style, it's simply going to filter through the entire document. Won't change. Okay, so list level 1, list level A, lowercase a, and list level I. Let's go that far. All right, let's call the title as just a title style. So we don't need to do anything more than choose title. The reason I'm hesitating and I almost want to make it a heading 1 is because of the table of contents. If we have multiple documents we're bringing in, I might lose that on the top, so I am making an executive decision. I'm not worried about font or color right now. What I want to try next is to get the section 1.01. I want to see something. It will not auto number. That's fine. So let's do a new one. Multi-level list. Let's dive deeper into this multi-level list world. Enter formatting for number. Okay.
Yeah. This part right here has caused me many headaches.
Okay. So if I do a 1.01, it's not going to increment this guy. And if I change this to just be that, it's going to change the back end. Okay. Let's see what happens if we do more here. 1 tab, legal style, font, level number from. And we really do want that to be section. And then we really want this to have in it 0.01. I think I just discovered if we do start at 1. It really isn't going to let us do that, is it? So bear with me while I do what you've done 100 times. Heading, numbering, word, 1.01. We're not the only one. Here we go. Okay. So we would have a paragraph 1, multi-level list. So far we're good. Set numbering style, click more, make sure that each level is linked to the appropriate paragraph. That is so not helpful because that just gets us to where we were. They want us to use 2 levels to get this one. Okay. Define new multi-level list. This is always going to be a 1. Now we're going to do a second level define new number format. Nope, that's not where we were. We were then define new multi-level list. At level 2, it is 01. And not the word section, just that. And so if we made this heading 1 and this another heading 1, nope. So let me clear all my formatting here. Carrie, while I'm noodling through this, did you mean page headers or did you mean the section headers?
No, page headers and footers. Yeah, I know that's sometimes we get questions from multiple documents and all the headers need to match. So is there a way, do styles also translate to headers and footers that you can save and apply?
They do. I would save a header footer style. That way you just apply it through the document in one place and it will carry all the way through, but set a style up here.
Okay.
So again, coming back, trying to get this guy. And again, I know we need to be here in multi-level list. I'm tempted to try this one and see if we can get modify this guy to get what you need. So we have this, start at 1, link to heading 1, level to showing gallery, level 2, and level 2. See how it's given us the 1.1? Oh, there it is. Let's go back and do that for us. all the things I thought I had done before I got on today. Okay. Let's come back up to the top. Set it up here. Multi-level list, beginning with this, which is closer, coming back here, define new multi-level list. We want to do section, not there, here. Section 1, level to show in gallery. Let's get after that, 2. And then this became O2. Stinker. I mean, seriously, didn't we just get this done?
Yeah, the level to edit, I think, is what you missed.
Thank you.
Level
All right.
Yeah.
So we're beginning here. We're going to make this the word section to get it before. We're going to do level 2 to start, and this becomes O2. Hot diggity dog. I'm going to do a screen print here. I'm going to bring this into my PowerPoint over here at the end. And we will park this here. And then what we will do is the steps were, Carrie, keep me honest. So we're trying to get section 101. It was multi-level list using the 1.1.1 style. And we're okay here. Just lost the word section. Now I've done my right click, modify section. So if I now have a new section, or section as it were, Control Alt 1 now gives me that. Okay, so the steps were, again, multi-level list, define new list level. We went here, show level to show in gallery. We had to do level 2, and that should be on the screenshot, just making sure I can get back to my things. And type section, again, with the creative spelling of section in front of numbering. Change to level 2, select 0.02 or 0.01, and then finally right click heading 1 in gallery and choose update selection. What was that called now? Right click, update heading 1 to match selection. For those of you that want to screenshot this, these are the steps we just did to finally get our section 1. Let's hammer down the list here.
I think purely by coincidence, I managed to get this to work once for me, but then I needed to enter a section 2.01 and ran into quite the wall getting Word to give me a numbering break and to go to 2.01.
Got it.
Yeah.
So if I went back here and did a right click, set numbering value, continue from previous list. Nope, that didn't do it.
Yeah, and then when I changed it to 201, it just changed my entire document. So this one caused me some problems.
So you actually had to do a bunch of styles for 1 through whatever in order to get this to work.
It was brutal. Yeah.
So I go to manage styles and I have a heading 1, new style, based on heading 1, format, numbering library. Okay. 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 And then I come back over here. It really does not want to change. It's like you have to change that first level. So there has to be something here that changes that first level to the number 1. And then it will go on from the number 1, because we did have a 2 at some point. See, it's always giving us the 01, but it's never giving us back the 1.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to make this guy. We have it set as a heading 1. I'm going to make it a heading 2. And do a right click, update to match selection. My heading 1 is simply going to be a 1. And this will be title, heading 1. And that is going to be modify my numbering. We're here, and it's just going to be this as a 1. Now, if I do that, heading 1, okay. I think I know where to look for it. I'm not going to noodle for it here, but I think I just figured out where to look for it. So what I want to do, so we want to change from 1.01 to 2.01 when we decide. The problem is, here's where the architecture is giving us a problem. We think we're numbering 1.01, 1.02. It has 2 numbering schemes in the same heading. Until we do something that triggers section 2, it will then give us 201, 202, but we're trying to do 2 things at once in the section number, and that's why it's giving us a pain. Okay, let me go back down through a few things. Yeah, headers and footers, a new number style, absolutely. To create a new number style, you can use an existing numbering style. Let me go to manage. You can do a new style, and you can base it on whatever you want to base it on. And then you can come in here to format numbering and change the numbering from here. You can define new number format in here. This is really chapping my hide here, because it looks like it's going to work, doesn't it? And then it lies to us mercilessly. Okay, but yes, you can set a new numbering style, and those are the steps you go through. Set a brand new one. I find with setting brand new numbering styles that you somehow the sequencing won't do what it's supposed to do. I don't mean to keep putting you on the spot, Carrie. You're showing up in the middle of my screen. I don't know if it's that way for everybody, but I'm trying to come over here to chat. Well, I'm glad I could make you not feel stupid about that stuff.
So quick question on the numbers. Would it work to insert a section break? Would that break the numbering link to go to the next level?
Let's find out. I kind of don't think so, only just because we've used the word section. I don't think so, but let's give it a shot, right?
Just curious.
So section break next page, and then we'll make something Control-Alt-1, and it's still doing 1.01, simply just starting. Well, hang on, let me do that down here. Breaks, section break.
Yeah. Okay.
And if I do something down here, Control-Alt-1, it's just continuing the numbering.
Okay.
For SMS formatting, let's not use heading if it's not a header. That will get you in trouble every single time. You have to start as a base of the heading styles, or you will lose all of the other functionality in there. So you don't ever want to abandon heading style. What we need to do is figure out how to bring it in line. So what I want to say at this point, although we do have time for other things to try and other questions that you have, let me save this before I don't. When I have the answers put back together, we can do one of two things. I can record them as a offline course, a one-off course, or we can get back together. And of course, if I couldn't deliver 100% of what we said we were going to try to do, that's just yours. But I feel like we've made a giant leap getting the section 1.01 and finally getting the steps to that one. It is diving into the how do we get that top number, that level 1 number to change. By not using heading styles, I want to find you again. By not using heading styles, you abandon table of contents. You abandon any other tables you might want to automatically create. You abandon the ability to be able to pull, and let me show you what that looks like on a normal document. One that doesn't look like that. Equal rand 5. So if I have this as a heading 1, plain old heading 1, not that, but this. What I can do on this page is go up here to this header and simply do an insert, quick parts, field, style, and it pulls in that heading 1 right in there. So every time that heading 1 changes, you don't have to mess with the header anymore. It will just simply do that for each of the main level headings. So one question I have for you, Carrie, I was sent several vendors' documents. Do those typically get assembled into a single one?
No, we don't usually compile the individual documents into one master document. We usually have them in sections.
So I'm just bringing in ceramic tile or just bringing in this.
Yeah, for us, it's more about cleaning up that formatting and making the formatting cohesive between like 50 documents, for example.
Right. So all of it, let's go over what worked and what you can bank on. Number 1, you have to clear the styles that you are given in the document. You have to start from your set of styles. Number 2, we have to set up our own numbering. And as soon as you do that, you save that as a template so you always have it. Then when you create a new document and copy paste the existing one in, what you're doing at that point is applying the styles from your template. You're making sure you're not using anything original and applying those from your template. Once that's done, table of contents, pulling the thing into the header. So we could pull the section number into the header if you wanted to. So when you're doing your header, other than the title of the document and the project number and those kind of things which typically show up, are you pulling in like a section name into the header?
Yeah, I think this one has one if you scroll up. The section name, yeah, section, yeah.
Right, and those are hammered in.
Yes.
And what we want to do is have this section number automatic so that you're only doing it where you need it. And then the page numbers are automatically incrementing. All of that is possible if we stick to the heading structure and the style refs. Without that, you lose all of the capability of getting everything in line. And you will always be going through your document and making each change at a time. So if we can lick the section numbering and we can get the list level numbering to go A and 1 without a lot of heartburn, even using, let me go back to my thing here, bear with me, even using the replacing the double, let's get past this, replacing the double paragraph styles, getting rid of the soft returns, peeling out the existing page headers and footers that you get, stick them in Notepad somewhere so you can get back to the text. We have to clear the existing formatting to build structure back in. The good news is, once you build the structure and we lick the numbering thing, you save that as a template, you are always just picking it up, keeping text only, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, list level 1, 2, and 3, boom, done. Header, footer dropped in automatically. So what I want to do is come back around to you guys. I wish I could say tomorrow. I'm really thinking about July once I get back into Spain, and bringing in the correct numbering thing. I just saw something come up. Long one. The other issue is often the same Word document goes back and forth multiple times between us and the consultant as they get revised over time. We get it back from the consultant. Do we need to start from square one? Once you bring somebody else into the document, if they decide to do something like just put a number in here, and then they try to make this a different font, and they want it indented a certain way, and so they do with this. You say, thank you very much for all your input. Select the whole document, Control Space Bar will get rid of everything that they've added. And then it's just a matter of not editing what they did unless they are changing styles. If they are changing styles, that's another story. Do you normally find, Kurt, that they change styles? Okay, so they're changing formatting. If somebody changes formatting, Control Spacebar brings it back to whatever it was. So if they made this bold and underlined and some wacky whatever this, Control Spacebar brings it back to whatever styles are in play. Now, if they change the style, if you guys let them view this video and they now know how to change the style, then you have a different issue. But again, you pull it into your template and do a keep text only. When you do a keep text only between documents where the theme is different, let me just go ahead and put a new theme in here so I can show you what that looks like. I'll put in this one. This has some, this Control-Alt-1, so you can see that's different. This Control-Alt-2. If I copy this thing, copy, and I come into the document that has this already put together and do a paste text only, Control-Alt-1, Control-Alt-2 brings it back in. If I already have, depending on how you do this, if I copy this and I have something else already here and I do a paste keep text, it will paste it into the heading style that you're using. So you're just going to do a copy paste keep text only. If I were to take this paragraph and make it red and bold and underlined it, and I copied it and stuck it in the middle of this one, paste, keep text only, it will adopt the surrounding styles. So if they've brought you something that's crazily formatted, don't panic. First, try Control Spacebar. if they haven't deleted what you already had there and just reformatted it or just added things in a weird place, Control Space Bar should bring you back into where you needed to be.
Awesome.
Again, worst case, you go into a blank document with your template.
Learn those styles. Learn those styles.
Yeah, there really isn't any way around it. But what I want to offer you again is the second session, which is this session, but with that first part figured out. And I'm going to use the documents you had, and I would have bet dimes to donuts I had it, but what I was missing was going from 1.01 to 2.01.
Okay.
So the way to increment that is at the level 1 numbering. Don't know at this minute where that needs to be set, but I will get it set because you're not the only ones trying to get that done.
No, not at all. All right. Does anybody else have questions for Melissa? You've got a captive audience here for a couple more minutes. Any other pain points in the formatting?
I do think the idea, though, by the way, Kurt, about locking styles, I think when you do send it for revision, I think you do want to do a restrict editing. I think you do want to do a restrict editing, and I would actually put in a password so that if they don't like the restriction but find they can update the text, they're going to say, okay, fine, that's fine with me. But if they don't know the password, they cannot mess with it beyond the handful of styles that you're using that you gave them. Or not any, which is my favorite. You can't mess with any of them. You can just text.
It sounds like we got to spend some time making a template.
100%. As soon as and I'm now, this is for better or for worse what I'm committed to doing this evening, because I don't need a life. I'm going to do this, is to get that numbering licked. I think I'm going to create the template with the numbering down to level I. And send that to you, Carrie, and Kurt, both of you, and let you test drive it.
Okay. Sure.
If you test drive it, everything else applies. I'm still coming back in to do it with that template from the beginning.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
And I'll send you a bill after that one.
Okay. Oh my goodness. I have to say, I took the time to go through and create a template for a large document, and it was a decent investment in time. But once I had the styles outlined well, applying them to the document didn't actually take all that long, so it was worth it.
And it does, and it does give you all of the other things that you get with styles that if you don't use them, you're really just formatting text, and that's where people can snatch your document away from you.
Yeah, tabbing forever. Okay, it is 1 o'clock.
Down, challenge failed, but we have another chance at it.
Okay, we'll circle back. That's okay. We'll circle. We got some bonus content, as they say in the podcast world, that we'll circle back with everybody. All right, last call for any questions. You can either unmute yourself or pop them in the chat window. We don't want to keep you guys too much longer. It's already been the hour and a half we promised.
And to the extent that you guys want to write to me directly, I've just popped my email address out there in the chat. Feel free to write to me directly.
Thank you. Melissa, thank you. And thank you for taking on this challenge. I know that specs were not probably in your wheelhouse, but thank you for for helping us learn how to manage these things. They are beastly, but yes, super important.
All right, guys, everybody take care, be well, and more to.
Okay. Thank you so much, Melissa.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Melissa.
Bye.